The cameras rolled as Stephen Miller, dressed in his signature dark suit, adjusted his mic. His expression was confident, almost smug. Jasmine Crockett, seated just across from him, remained calm but alert. The host welcomed the guests and introduced the debate. Before long, Miller dove into his talking points, citing border concerns and American values with a sharp edge. Then he said it, something that instantly shifted the room's energy. "I just wonder," Miller said, "if Representative—"
Crockett even understands the Constitution.
The audience gasped. Crockett blinked, letting the insult settle. She leaned forward slightly, her voice even but firm. "Stephen," she said, "I've spent my career defending that Constitution in courtrooms and Congress, while you were busy fear-mongering behind a podium." A few heads in the crowd nodded. Miller grinned, but the momentum had begun to shift. "You see," she continued, "what you just did is a classic tactic. Dismiss a black woman's intellect because you can't handle her truth. That's not debate. That's desperation." The room stirred. Miller tried to interject, but Crockett held up her hand. "No, you had your shot. Let me educate you." Her voice remained steady, eyes fixed. "You confuse law with oppression and twist patriotism into fear." The host turned to Miller, hoping to regain balance. "Stephen, care to respond?" "Sure," he snapped. "What I'm saying is this country is losing its identity. People like Jasmine want open borders, lawlessness, and chaos." Crockett smiled, almost amused. "So inclusion equals chaos? You fear a nation that reflects its people. That's not love for country. That's a fear of progress." The crowd's reaction was growing louder. "You speak of identity," she said. "But whose identity? This land was never built on one race, one story. Our strength is our diversity." Miller rolled his eyes. "Typical liberal rhetoric." Crockett raised an eyebrow. "And what you offer is what? Fear and exclusion? Your politics are built on walls, mine on bridges." She turned to the camera. "America deserves better than fearmongers pretending to protect it," Miller interrupted, frustrated now. "You want to give away citizenship like candy," Crockett shot back. "I want to recognize humanity, not criminalize survival." The moderator leaned in, letting the heat build. "Representative Crockett, are you saying borders don't matter?" "No," she replied. "I'm saying cruelty isn't policy. Law without compassion is not leadership. It's tyranny with a tie." The audience broke into applause again. Stephen leaned back, visibly irritated. "I care about safety." Crockett leaned forward, eyes locked. "Then stop pushing lies. Immigrants don't make us unsafe. Your policies do." Miller opened his mouth, but the audience was already reacting. Crockett continued. "When kids are locked in cages, families separated, that's not strength, that's state-sanctioned trauma." Silence fell, the weight of her words undeniable. "You say you defend America," she said, "but what you defend is exclusion. I fight for an America that doesn't forget who built it. Immigrants, enslaved people, and dreamers." Miller's jaw clenched. "You sound like a Marxist." Crockett laughed. "That's your go-to when you can't handle truth." "No, Stephen, I'm not a Marxist. I'm an American who reads, thinks, and doesn't fear change." She went on. "You're not interested in dialogue, only dominance. And when someone challenges your comfort, you lash out." Miller was silent. Crockett added, "You accused me of not knowing the Constitution. I know it. I revere it. And I know it doesn't say, 'only for some.'" The crowd applauded. Again. A few audience members stood. Miller looked visibly shaken now, trying to regroup. "What about the rule of law?" he asked. "What about justice?" Crockett replied, "Justice is not selective. If the law only protects the powerful, it's not justice. It's privilege." Her tone was sharper now. "You talk about crime, but ignore the crimes of power. What about the kids who die in custody under your policies?" The moderator leaned in again. "Let's focus on solutions. Representative Crockett?" She nodded. "Reform immigration. Fund fair trials. End family separations. Restore dignity. Miller chuckled dismissively. That's fantasy. She responded, No. Your fantasy is that cruelty equals strength. Mine is rooted in justice. Yours ends in fear. Mine begins with hope. Miller shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable. Crockett stayed poised. America doesn't need another soundbite politician. It needs truth-tellers. I won't be silenced by smugness. She glanced at the camera. We've seen what happens when lies go unchecked. January 6 wasn't a foreign attack. It was homegrown hate, fed by people like you. The crowd went still. Even the moderator looked taken aback. Miller's lips curled. You're politicizing tragedy. Crockett replied, You exploited it. Don't confuse those two. Miller looked down. Crockett's voice rose. If you want respect, show respect. I don't care about your insults. I care about people, and your ideas hurt them. You pretend to speak for Americans, she said, but you only speak for fear. I speak for the mother working 2 jobs, the kid scared of ICE, the family that still believes in the promise of America. The audience erupted. Miller said nothing. Crockett leaned back, letting the moment land, and so it continued. Crockett's voice, calm yet electric, had changed the temperature in the room. Miller shifted again, visibly losing his grip. You're grandstanding, he muttered. No, she said. I'm standing for what's right. You can't reduce human dignity to sound bites. You come with propaganda. I come with people's stories. The audience, now clearly on her side, clapped again. Miller's smile faded completely. You try to package racism in policy, she said, but the stench is unmistakable. No matter how many times you rehearse it, hate disguised as governance is still hate. Miller sat frozen. Crockett turned to him. And don't think I'll let you disrespect me under the guise of debate. Not here. Not today. The moderator didn't stop her. No one dared. It was a moment made for history, and everyone in the room felt it. I've been underestimated my whole life, Crockett continued, but never by anyone who didn't later regret it. The crowd let out a unified sound of appreciation. You think because I'm a woman and I'm black, you can talk down to me? Try again. I earned this seat. I worked for every inch, and I don't need your approval to speak truth. Her words hit like thunder, each sentence tighter than the last. Miller whispered something, but it was drowned by the energy in the room. Crockett didn't break her gaze. Your entire argument is fear. Fear of the future. Fear of change. Fear of equity. She paused. But fear can't run a democracy. The moderator finally said, Representative Crockett, you've made your point very powerfully. Crockett nodded. And I'll keep making it until justice rings louder than lies. Miller tried to recover. You're just using identity politics. Crockett smirked. Identity politics? You mean acknowledging reality? Your discomfort isn't my responsibility. I'm here to confront it, not cushion it. The moderator allowed her to finish uninterrupted. What scares you isn't my politics. It's that millions agree with me. And they vote. The statement landed. The crowd cheered once again. The time for polite lies is over, Crockett said. You don't get to label people illegal and then pretend you're civil. Miller looked around, clearly rattled. I didn't mean... You meant every word, she cut in. Own it. You're not a strategist. You're a symptom. The fever of a country struggling with its past. The moderator leaned back, letting the weight of her truth settle across the studio. Crockett's tone turned more deliberate. I didn't come here to be nice. I came here to be honest. And if that's too loud for you, maybe your side has been silent for too long. A silence filled the room, dense and necessary. You don't intimidate me, Stephen, she added. Your talking points are stale. Your politics are tired. Your relevance is fading. A few gasps punctuated her final statement. Miller fumbled his notes. Look, all I'm saying is, we need law. And order, Crockett replied sharply. So do I. That's why I oppose policies that criminalize desperation. You treat suffering like a nuisance. I treat it like a call to action. The moderator glanced at the producers nervously. This debate had become more than anyone expected, and far more real than TV usually allowed. You built your career blaming the voiceless, Crockett went on. Mine was built giving them a voice. That's the difference between us, and no amount of spin can change that. Miller tried again. I just want a secure nation. Then start with securing truth, she said, because nothing you've said here aligns with it. The applause now felt less like support and more like revolution. We're not debating facts, Crockett said. We're debating your fear of facts. And that's a battle you'll lose every time. Miller's expression fell flat. I've read your work, Stephen. And I've seen your harm. You don't advocate. You provoke. You don't inspire. You incite. The audience gasped. Crockett didn't stop. And I won't let you do that unchallenged. Not in my presence. Not in my country. The host looked stunned. Representative Crockett? Final words? She took a deep breath. This country is in a fight for its soul. We can't keep letting fear dress up as policy and walk away unchallenged. To everyone watching, don't be fooled by volume. Look for value. Don't be distracted by anger. Follow justice. The future belongs to those who dare to speak it into reality. The audience stood and clapped. Miller remained seated, eyes low. Crockett didn't look at him again. She faced the camera. Let me be clear. No matter what's said about me, I will never stop speaking truth, even if it makes the powerful uncomfortable. Then, with a final nod, she removed her mic. The debate was over, but the echo of her words would last far beyond the studio walls. The nation had heard her, and they wouldn't forget. As the camera panned out, social media lit up. Hashtags exploded. Clips of Crockett's takedown went viral. Young activists reposted every word. Teachers showed it in classrooms. A new generation found courage in her clarity. Her speech had become a blueprint for defiance, not of civility, but of complacency. The truth had been televised, and people were listening. News outlets scrambled for follow-ups. Conservative pundits fumed, but even they couldn't deny it. Crockett had dominated the moment, not with noise, but with purpose, not with rage, but with righteousness. Interviews poured in. Her team could barely keep up. What started as a basic panel became a moment that defined her voice and exposed the weakness of her opposition. Stephen Miller, once a dominant voice in right-wing policy, suddenly looked small. His sound bites couldn't save him. His tactics had failed. He underestimated her, and that mistake would haunt him in political circles. Crockett's composure, intellect, and fire redefined the moment and reminded everyone what leadership looks like when it's unbothered by hate and grounded in principle. And so the show ended. But the story didn't. Jasmine Crockett's name trended globally. Her lines were quoted in articles, speeches, even protest signs. She hadn't just debated. She had dismantled, not with cruelty, but with conviction. And as the country watched, it became clear. This wasn't just a takedown. It was a turning point. And Stephen Miller? He learned the hard way. Truth, once spoken, cannot be silenced.